Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Women Entrepreneurs Global podcast, Mindset for Success, where today I'd like to explore the unconscious struggles that female entrepreneurs have had to overcome in order to be successful. And I am your host, Dr. Leslie Knutson, and today I'm really thrilled to hear from our guest, Fernanda Carapinha. She is truly an amazing woman who has pursued her passions for learning and business and bringing people together who are deeply committed to empowering women. And she's recently founded Women's Entrepreneur Global, the first virtual startup studio by and for women. Previous to this, Fernanda had a successful career as the Director of Development at Paramount Studio for 20 years. And she's also been a successful serial entrepreneur and has founded for digital and for digital entertainment. So please join me in a warm welcome to our distinguished guest, Fernanda Carapinha.
Thank you, Leslie. So nice to be here and be part of your show.
Thank you. So Fernanda, as you know, it takes a lot to be a successful female entrepreneur. And while business acumen is critical, we rarely talk about the psychological challenges that women often face to achieve this success. And I like to talk about these as the unconscious struggles that create doubt and undermine success and can really destroy self-confidence. So what I'd like to do today is to ask you to tell us, given your successful career as in entertainment, what made you want to go out all on your own and become a serial entrepreneur?
Well, I think that initially when I left the entertainment business, and I worked for various networks and studios, it was really a lifestyle change because I was at a point in my life where I wanted to start a family. And I really felt that I needed to transition to something that was a little bit more flexible in terms of my time and my time commitment. And I also was tired of being an executive and really craved the opportunity to really drive the creative process more directly, as opposed to working with writers and producers and developing their shows. I really wanted to be the writer-producer. So when I originally left, it was to become a creative entrepreneur, which all producers are. And I started writing and producing content. I started my own production company. And that was really how I wet my feet in the entrepreneurial world. After doing that for a number of years, I really felt back in 2014, I believe it was, that the entertainment business was a little bit behind the times in the way they were integrating technology and digital into the development of their content. And I really felt that tech development needed to be an integral part of content development from the ground up. And so I started For Digital Entertainment and For Digital at that time to really develop software to exploit content IP on various platforms and in different ways, whether it was innovating around distribution or production or embedding different IP opportunities within content itself that could be monetized later. So it was more of a 360 view of how content could be monetized. And after, successfully doing that, I built a tech company that's very focused on data analytics specifically. I really started to experience frustration around what I viewed to be a lack of support in the startup ecosystem for women. And having started out in the entertainment business, knowing very well the struggles that women have on the corporate side, I knew that a different path was honestly really needed in order to help women build successful businesses because, as I'm sure you know, the statistics are pretty awful where only, even though, you have 40% of all entrepreneurs are female, only 3% get funded by VCs. So when you look at the statistics, clearly we need to forge a new path, which is really why I started We Global. And I did so, and I wanted to create a startup innovation studio for women where you could bring people of all different expertise, just like a regular content studio does, to help women build their companies from the ground up. And these are either called VC studios or startup factories. They have different names. But it's a new phenomenon that's really occurred in the last 4 or 5 years. And I think the idea really is, instead of being focused on raising capital, which seems to be all entrepreneurs' obsession because it's a necessity, it's really to change the focus to creating revenue and creating solid businesses from the very beginning, and to structure your business plan so that you can rev flow early, so that you can bootstrap better, so that you have better metrics to go out upon which to raise capital, because the bar is very high, and the bar is very high in particular for women, because they typically look for women who are serial entrepreneurs, or they look for founders who are serial entrepreneurs. They look for at least $1 million worth of revenue in terms of traction. They look for a lot of success metrics, and those success metrics are difficult to attain for first-time female founders, and we hope to make that difference.
And what sorts of things have you learned in terms of being a creative for yourself versus a creative for in the entertainment world? How does it feel different? How was it difficult?
Well, I think the hardship, I think, generally speaking, and I think this applies to my experience as a creative individual. I'm also a published author, as well as an entrepreneur, is the selling. I think, generally speaking, selling is the hardest part. For example, I have a daughter who's 12 and has started 2 companies that she's now launched on Pinterest, and she's making jewelry and she's making lip gloss. And she makes this stuff all day long, but she has sold very little. And I keep saying to her, at some point, you got to work on the business plan and you got to sell the stuff. We can't just keep buying product. And I think building your company and making the product, whatever that product might be, whether it's software, whether it's shoes, whether it's, a baby carrier, it doesn't really matter, is the fun part. And I always advise women to start at the end and work backwards, which is presume your product is done. And now what? And start there, because it's going to make your journey that much harder. So as a creative producer, writing a script, for example, or finding material and then packaging it, the hard part then is getting in the door to get meetings, right? It's all part of the selling process. So you need a network to get you those meetings. As an entrepreneur, you need a network in order to get you in the door with potential customers, whether it's on the enterprise side or if you're raising capital on the VC side or the angel side. So having a strong network to help you with sales, having good sales skills, and knowing your market and knowing your edge and how to position yourself against the competition. I think those are universal struggles that all entrepreneurs have that really require a lot of honing.
And I think also in terms of the selling piece, which is talked a lot about for women entrepreneurs, is that sometimes yucky money piece, right? Where it's hard as a woman sometimes to feel comfortable to ask for a raise or ask for money for your startup because of all the uncertainty of whether or not you're being greedy or you're not good enough or not ready enough. And I wonder if over your sort of lifespan of being a serial entrepreneur that has changed your sense of being able to be more comfortable with money, or was it difficult in the past and it still sometimes is?
Yes, it was difficult in the past, and it sometimes is. I think it's a constant struggle to get what you need from a second party. And I think for me personally and individually, some of it is a little easier by virtue of my upbringing. I was raised by immigrant parents and I had a very tough father. So I'm used to dealing with kind of difficult personalities, and I'm used to dealing with kind of the show me attitude, and it doesn't intimidate me. And also working in the entertainment business and being a senior entertainment executive and dealing with a lot of male producers,
Mm.
that you're giving notes to, and you're saying, you need to change this in your script, you need to change this actress isn't going to work, and standing up against them. And when I was in the business, I was always assigned to writers and producers who were very volatile. That was kind of my specialty. So I didn't mind it if people threw things at me. I didn't mind it if people screamed, because again, I came from a European family that screamed a lot, so I was very comfortable with that. I wasn't comfortable with passive aggressive behavior, however. So, so I think feeling very confident and calm as a woman is really important. But when you go out to raise capital, it's just, it's a different boys club. It's a different game. And, people look at you very, very, very critically about whether or not you actually have what it takes. And if you haven't done it before, just like everything else in life, you need to prove that you actually are going to deliver. So that's why I think women need a huge network. And by network, I just don't mean people you can call for meetings, and not just people who can coach you, but you need a lot of people around you telling you that you've got what it takes and giving you that edge and knowing how to sell yourself. One of the nicest things I've ever heard after going out and raising capital was that I was a fundable CEO. And there's nothing better to hear. So it really strikes at the chord of leadership. And I think women are acutely able to really hone their talents, their multidisciplinary talents that they have had their whole lives to lead in a corporate environment or in an entrepreneurial environment. They're able to multitask. They're able to wear a lot of different hats. They're able to troubleshoot. They're incredibly resourceful. They're empathic. All these things that are required for strong leadership. But I think even though the statistics are out there where, women, you can go and research that female founders, their companies outperform male founders by like 30%. And those statistics continue to grow, but you don't see the funding that comes behind it. So we all need to keep working and innovating around new solutions and new paths in order to get our seat at the table.
And part of it, I think, also is what you're doing with We, which is to be able to really set up a strong network of mentors to kind of help women along through some of these more difficult, especially in the financial areas, and selling perhaps also as well. And I wonder if you had mentors in your life that made some of this easier for you, and what did you do, or how could you suggest to our women listening today to find that kind of peer support?
Well, I think for me personally, I didn't have mentors. And therefore, I think that's really my desire to create We Global. And that was because I want other women to have what I didn't have. Because you save a lot of time and you save a lot of money by having people around you say, don't go right, you want to go left. But it's not only kind of psychological and emotional support, but it's really operational support. I think that that's really what really distinguishes our group from other groups. While I feel that emotional support is important, I think it's really important to have women say, no, you don't want to hire that CTO. This is what you need. You need this kind of person. You need to really consider this platform. Go with this company. Don't go with that company. You want to iterate this way, don't iterate that way. You want to start enterprise partnerships now, don't wait until after your beta is done. Real strategic, tactical membership, not mentorship, but mentorship, yes, is really what's required to make the difference, because we don't have the luxury of time as